They never told you this in Friday sermons, and maybe there's a reason for that. You were taught to lift your hands after prayer, say the right words, sound humble, and speak from the heart. And you did for years, maybe even decades. But no one ever told you that there's something deeper, something ancient hidden beneath the act of praying. 7 unseen foundations that decide whether a prayer rises or just vanishes into the air. Ibn Arabi called them the invisible structure of answered prayer. One night, when a broken man came to him after 20 years of unanswered supplication, Ibn Arabi didn't tell him to pray harder. He told him to pray differently, and within weeks, everything in that man's life began to shift. So what did he teach? What secret did he pass on that night under the stars? The secret that changed a man's destiny after 2 decades of silence. That's what you're about to hear. Here's the mistake most people make. We think praying is just asking, like sending a request to the sky. We think it's about saying the right words in Arabic or saying them at dawn or crying enough to prove we mean it. But Ibn Arabi, the man kings would cross deserts to meet, the mystic who spoke rarely but changed every soul who listened, said something that shattered every assumption about prayer. He said, "The problem is not that your prayers go unheard. The problem is that you've misunderstood what it means to ask." Ibn Arabi lived over 8 centuries ago, but his words feel like they were written for today. Born in Mercia, he wandered across Mecca, Cairo, and Damascus, searching not for knowledge written in ink, but for the kind carved into the soul. He wanted to experience the divine, not study it. He wanted to open his heart until it reflected the heavens like a mirror. People called him Al-Sheikh al-Akbar, the greatest master. When he spoke about prayer, it wasn't theory, it was a transmission, a spark that ignited something sleeping inside those who listened. One night, a man came to him, shattered, desperate, and out of faith. For 20 years, he had begged for the same 3 things: his daughter's healing, relief from debt, and peace in his home. He had done everything right. He prayed 5 times daily, fasted, gave charity, wept in the night, whispered Amin until his voice broke. But nothing changed. He finally came to Ibn Arabi and said, "Master, does God not hear me? Am I not worthy of an answer?" Ibn Arabi looked at him for a long moment and replied with 7 words that would change that man's life forever. "You have been speaking but not listening. Now stay with me, because what Ibn Arabi taught next isn't what you think. It wasn't about patience. It wasn't about divine timing. It wasn't even about faith in the usual sense. He said the prayer is not a speech, it's a conversation. And every real conversation has 2 sides. 7 elements make that conversation alive. 7 hidden forces that either open the door between you and the divine or keep it closed. Most people, Ibn Arabi said, only use 2 of them. And then they wonder why heaven feels silent. When the desperate man asked how to begin, Ibn Arabi didn't tell him to repeat a verse or memorize a chant. He simply walked with him outside. The night sky above was endless, stars scattered like sparks over a velvet ocean. Ibn Arabi pointed upward and asked, "When you look at the stars, do you demand they shine for you?" The man blinked, confused. "No, master," Ibn Arabi smiled gently. "Of course not. You simply open your eyes and see that they are already shining." Then he said, "This is the first secret of dua. God's mercy exists before you're asking. Your words do not create it. They only open you to what's already there." The man went silent. Something deep in his chest, something hard and frozen after 20 years of unanswered prayer, began to crack. Not break, crack like winter icy, giving way to spring, and through that crack light began to seep in. That was the first secret, and already it changed everything. But Ibn Arabi wasn't done. He said 6 more invisible layers turned prayer from empty words into a living connection. He said, if you think prayer is about changing God's will, you've missed its essence. Prayer is about transforming your perception until you see that His will was mercy all along. Let me break down what he meant and what he taught that night. Ibn Arabi described dua as a structure, 7 levels, like the floors of a house. Each level supports the one above it. Skip a lev, and the house collapses. Most people, he said, live and pray on the ground floor and then wonder why they never see the view from the top. The first secret dua is remembering, not requesting. You are not telling God something He doesn't know. You are remembering who He is. When you pray for healing, you remember Shafi, the healer. When you pray for provision, you remember your Razak, the provider. Prayer, then, is not about creating blessings. It's about aligning yourself with the names that already define reality. The second secret dua is listening, not just speaking. After you speak your heart, stop. Be silent. Because silence is where the reply comes. Most people pray like they're filling out a form, talk Amin, and walk away. But Ibn Arabi said the answer doesn't arrive in the noise. It comes in the quiet that follows. Sometimes it's a feeling. Sometimes it's a whisper of peace in your chest. Sometimes it's just a knowing, soft, weightless, but unmistakable. The third secret dua is to surrender, not desire. This one hurts because we all think we know what we need. The job, the person, the cure, the money. But the Master said, true prayer is when you tell God, give me what you know is best for me, even if my heart resists it. That's not giving up. That's trust. That's saying, you see the whole painting. I only see one corner. That's when the desperate man wept because he realized he'd been praying from fear, not from faith. Demanding, not surrendering, trying to bend the divine current instead of flowing with it. Ibn Arabi explained something few dare to say. Most people pray from their ego, not their soul. Your ego wants comfort, success, control, and validation. Your soul wants truth, growth, nearness to God, even if that means walking through fire. And here's the mystery. God answers the soul, not the ego. That's why sometimes when you pray for ease, life gives you struggle. Not as punishment, but as preparation. Because your soul's prayer for growth was answered while your ego thought it was being ignored. Ibn Arabi told the man, when your prayer seems unanswered, ask yourself who was asking. The frightened child who just wants the pain to stop, or the deeper self that knows the pain is carving you into something greater. That question alone can transform a lifetime of confusion. Because the moment you realize that prayer isn't about getting what you want, but becoming who you're meant to be, everything shifts. Most people use only 2 elements of prayer, words and wanting, and then feel abandoned when nothing changes. They raise their hands again and again, and the silence feels heavy, cruel, endless. But it isn't. It's just that they've never been taught the full architecture. They've been knocking on a door without realizing it opens inward. Ibn Arabi said, when you bring all 7 elements into harmony, dua stops being something you do. It becomes what you are. Prayer ceases to be an event after worship. It becomes a state of being. Your breath becomes remembrance. Your walk becomes gratitude. Your silence becomes communion. And when that happens, you stop asking, why hasn't my prayer been answered? Because you begin to see every moment as an answer. The 4th secret, presence. You can't pray while your mind is scattered like dust. Before you speak, breathe. Feel your body. Return to the now. Ibn Arabi called it collecting yourself before offering yourself. An absent prayer is just sound. A present prayer is a meeting. The 5th secret, gratitude before asking. Before you ask for what you lack, recognize what you already have. Not as a trick, not as a bargain, but because gratitude expands the heart. And a closed heart cannot receive even when the answer is being poured right into it. The sixth secret: action. You can't pray for healing and keep the same habits that made you sick. You can't pray for sustenance and refuse to move your feet. You can't pray for love while hiding behind your own walls. Prayer is the seed. Action is the water. Both are required for growth. Ibn Arabi said, "Work as if it all depends on you. Pray as if it all depends on God, because both truths meet in the middle, where surrender and effort merge into balance." The seventh secret: time. Not the time it takes God to answer, the time it takes you to become ready to receive. Sometimes the blessing is hovering right above your head like a cloud of rain, but your hands are still closed, your heart is still small. You haven't yet become the person who can hold what you've asked for. Patience, Ibn Arabi said, isn't waiting, it's a transformation. When the man finally began to pray with all seven elements alive in him, something subtle started to change. Not overnight, not in one miracle moment, but gradually like dawn. The heaviness he used to feel after prayer began to lift. The silence that used to sting began to feel alive, almost responsive. He began to sense not that he was speaking into emptiness, but that he was being held in a conversation that never truly stopped. Over the next few weeks, the man began to see life differently. He noticed things he had never noticed before. The way the wind moved through the courtyard at dawn, the rhythm of his daughter's breath as she slept, the quiet mercy hiding inside every ordinary day. He realized that prayer wasn't confined to the words he spoke after Salah. Prayer was woven through everything: the waiting, the walking, the breathing. Months passed, and the same man who once trembled with doubt began to feel something he hadn't felt in decades. Peace. Not the peace that comes from everything going right, but the peace that comes from knowing you no longer have to fight what is. He had finally learned what Ibn Arabi meant when he said, "When you are ready, you will see that the answer was never late. You were simply early." And then one morning as the sun rose, something happened. His daughter, the one he had prayed for every night, began to heal. His debts eased. The tension in his home dissolved like mist. But when he looked back, he realized that the miracle wasn't in those external changes. The real miracle was what had changed inside him. He no longer prayed from emptiness, but from wholeness. No longer begged from fear, but spoke from love. He didn't see dua as a desperate knock on a locked door. He saw it as a doorway that had always been open. Ibn Arabi taught that when you truly understand prayer, you stop chasing outcomes. You stop trying to convince God to give you what you want. Instead, you learn to align with what He's already giving. That's when dua transforms from a request into a relationship. He would say, "Every breath that rises from your chest is already a prayer, and every breath that returns is already an answer." So when you pray tonight, don't think of it as asking the sky for favors. Think of it as remembering who you are, a soul in constant dialogue with its source. Even when your lips are silent, the conversation continues. There's one more thing Ibn Arabi revealed, something few dare to hear. He said, "The greatest sign of an answered prayer isn't always the thing you asked for showing up. Sometimes it's the desire itself dissolving. Because when you reach a point where you no longer need what you once begged for, it means you've already been filled by something greater." Look back at your own life for a moment. Think of the things you once cried over, the jobs you didn't get, the people who left, the doors that never opened, and then notice what those unanswered prayers made space for, who you became because of them. That is the hidden mercy. The answer is disguised as a delay. As the man walked away from Ibn Arabi that night, he turned once more and asked, "Master, if prayer changes me more than it changes my world, what should I ask for now?" Ibn Arabi smiled. "Ask to stay awake," he said. "Because once you are truly awake, you'll see that every breath, every joy, every wound, Every silence is already a form of prayer. Weeks turned into years, and that man became known for his calmness. People would come to him for advice and leave lighter, though he hardly said much. He had become what Ibn Arabi described, a living prayer, someone whose presence itself was supplication. His life no longer revolved around waiting for answers. His life was the answer. He learned that when your heart softens enough, you start to see the sacred hidden in everything. The sunlight through a window, the taste of water, the sound of your own heartbeat. Each moment whispers, I am here. You are heard. So what about you? Maybe you've been praying for something for years. Maybe the silence feels unbearable. Maybe you started to wonder if the heavens have forgotten your name. They haven't. The silence is not absence. It's preparation. It's a space where your old self breaks apart and your true self begins to form. Because before any door opens outward, one has to open inward first. When you pray tonight, don't chase the answer. Just open your heart wide enough to notice that it's already being given. Maybe not in the way you expected, but in the way you need. That's the real message Ibn Arabi tried to give the world. Prayer isn't about convincing God to change your life. It's about allowing God to change you. And when you change, everything around you begins to mirror that shift. The doors that once felt locked start to move. The burdens that once felt impossible begin to lift because the universe bends in response to a heart that has remembered its source. So tonight, when you raise your hands, remember you are not speaking into the void. You are speaking into the very heart of the one who has been listening all along. The one who wrote your prayers before you ever spoke them. The one who placed that longing inside you so he could fulfill it in his own perfect way. Let these 7 secrets live in you, not as information, but as transformation. Remember who you're speaking to. Listen after you speak. Surrender what you think you know. Be fully present. Begin with gratitude. Act in alignment with your prayer. Trust divine timing as the rhythm of your becoming. When all 7 move together, prayer stops being words. It becomes breath. It becomes being. And if these words touch something in you, let them move beyond you. Share this with someone who's been praying and feels unheard. Remind them that every silence has a purpose. Every delay hides mercy. And every unanswered prayer is shaping them for the moment they're ready to receive. Until we meet again, may your prayers be deep. May your heart stay open. And may you never forget, you were never unanswered.